Welcome to Roll, Ponder, and Play, a podcast dedicated to crafting stories through the application of role-playing game engines, combined with creative thinking and propelled into the ether by the barest of prompts. I'm Jared Hess, taking on all the roles of Game Master, solo player, author, and narrator. Come with me on a journey, and together let us explore realms of shadow, danger, and wonder. One roll can decide the fate of many things. Welcome to episode 28 of the Queen of Shadows podcast on Roll, Ponder, and Play. I'm Jared Hess, your friendly neighborhood game master, solo player, author, and narrator. In our previous episode, Eilwen calls the shadows to her, pulls one of them into her amulet, which activates something. The amulet flares a bright sapphire glow before settling on a steady, dim light. And in the amulet's swimming depths, she focuses on the shadow and sees a series of 3 visions. In the first vision, Eilwen becomes a child, the Princess Morwen, in fact. She is in the old world, and she is witness to the murder of Morwen's mother at the hands of Medrynn the Black, who took the half-crown and fled, chased by the queen's guards. Then a man with a gentle touch and a gentle voice picks her up and urges flight and calls her his queen. And she sees the Heralds of Night attack her people as they flee to the boats together. In the second vision, Eilwen becomes the adult and beautiful Queen Morwen in her prime, sitting in power and majesty on her throne in Greenhome in the Ironlands. There she battles the Herald Nar Shiv and the Herald's summoned bonewalker. Many guards are slaughtered as they come between Nar Shiv and his prey, buying Morwen time to activate her wards. She uses her power, wrought of rune magic, to protect herself and eventually to trap Nar Shiv, causing him to flee, retreating upon a black mist. In the third vision, Eilwen becomes the wizened Queen Morwen, replete with years. She interacts with the innocent child Arwed, her granddaughter, Eilwen's own future mother. Morwen reveals that she and her line are still hunted by Nar Shiv, and she commands Friern, Arwed's caretaker, a warrior woman with red hair, to take Arwed to a place of safety where she will not be found. She tells Friern that the line of queens will be through Arwed. Friern is further ordered to teach Arwed the ways of their people, and to teach her the runes of power. Friern is given the black iron discs. Eilwen returns to herself and wonders at seeing her own mother, an innocent child, and what twisting roads she may have traveled. As we begin this episode, Eilwen's stats are Edge 2, Heart 1, Iron 1, Shadow 3, Wits 2. Current assets: Archer, initial box; Cutthroat, initial box; Shadow Walk, initial box. Current statuses: Supply, 5 out of 5; Spirit, 3 out of 5; Health, 5 out of 5; Momentum, 7 out of 10. Current debilities: None. Failure track, 5 out of 24. Current unspent XP, 3. Before we begin this episode, I wanted to revisit Eilwen's quest milestones that were affected in the previous episode. The writings she saw and the visions she had in episode 27 fulfills a milestone on her background vow to find the other half of the crown and become queen. Plus, she has the names of a concrete person who originally took the crown. Together, I think that's worth 2 milestones, so her quest, her vow, is now at 5 out of 40 needed ticks. And remember, every 4 ticks translates to 1 filled box on a progress chart. So she has a ways to go here yet. I think this also fulfills a milestone in her vow to learn more about her mother. Now 2 out of 10. And now, on to episode 28 of Queen of Shadows. In the morning, at dawn, they packed up their supplies and left Greenhome, or Greenhaven, as Queen Morwen had named it, behind them. Before it disappeared from their view, Eilwen turned and gave her ancestral home one final look. The overgrown grounds, with their stoic honor guard of tall trees rich with untamed greenery, was now rife with vines and shrubbery that would continue their timeless clawing to reclaim the lichen-covered rock, crumbling it to its Mother Earth. The eastern sun filtered in through the leaves and glinted off the shards of tainted glass, returning for a moment beams of purple-orange and red. It must have been a beautiful home once, but it had lasted as neither home nor haven once Nar Shiv, the Herald of the Night, had come. The last thing she saw was the broken and scorched pillar. "Are you coming, sister?" Aaron smiled at her. As the golden light of the sun rose above the windows and touched the crenellations on the roof around the shattered solarium, she put her hand over her heart, over her newly found sapphire pendant, in farewell, and sighed at the transient nature of all things mortal. "Goodbye," she whispered, and then turned and rejoined Aaron and Seath. The party continued their southerly route, on foot as the sun rose higher, the yellow orb climbing a ladder of parallel bands of clouds that turned slowly from amber to white and then to gray against the blue sky. Okay, this is Undertake a Journey. We are rolling plus wits. I rolled a 6 on the action dice, plus 2 for an 8 against a 5 and an 8 for a weak hit. We make progress, now 4 out of 10, to reach a waypoint, but I lose 1 supply, now 4 out of 5. I don't have anything in mind for a milestone, so I will roll on the location oracle. I rolled a 44, pass, and now a descriptor. I rolled a 99, dense. Pass, dense, or dense pass. They moved out of the forest and again found the overgrown road. As the sun rose to its zenith, the road had grown narrower, and they found themselves descending in elevation as wings of the western and eastern mountains pushed out in the valley towards them, forming a small pass that was littered with dozens of boulders that slowed them down as they wound their way around, under, and sometimes over them. Seath told them that had the road been maintained, workers would have been sent to clear these stones, but none would come this way anymore, until whatever darkness claimed this region was chased away. They pressed on. Scratch kept pace. He no longer rode in her pack, but trotted alongside her. Sometimes he'd take small little leaps, hopping, gliding sometimes, but mostly falling from boulders, clattering to the shell rock below. Each time he hissed, but with determination, kept up with his rudimentary attempts at flight. At mid-afternoon they stopped and had a brief lunch of cold bread and cheese from their supplies, washed down with water from a nearby river. As they ate and sat, wisps of clouds in the azure sky passed overhead. Scratch got into the supplies again. Aaron didn't say anything, but just shook his head. Okay, this is Undertake a Journey move. I'm rolling plus wits again. I rolled a 5 on the action dice plus 2 for the wits is a 7 against 2 and 7 on the challenge dice for another weak hit. We again make progress, now 6 out of 10, and we reach a waypoint, but we lose 1 supply, now 3 out of 5. I rolled up another location and descriptor and got waterfall and blocked. By late afternoon, they saw sparkling water pouring off the cliff face to their left in a crashing spray of white mist that hung as if glittering in the sun, as if sapphires and diamonds churned over the rocky precipice into a small mist-laden lake below. The water from the fall and the pool joined its appendage to the main body of the river they were already following. Moss-covered boulders had fallen into the riverbed years ago, thus forming the small lake. They refilled their water skins, washed their arms and faces, and pressed on while there was still daylight. Okay, this is another Undertake a Journey move, and again, rolling plus wits. I rolled a 3 on the action dice this time, plus 2 for the wits is a 5 against a 5 and a 7 for a miss. Our failure track goes up from 5 out of 24 to 6 out of 24. I do have 7 momentum. I could burn it to negate the 5 and turn this into a weak hit. Or I could save my momentum and pay the price, but that could result in something that would likely make me lose my momentum anyway. Choices. I do have some choices with proceeding with the miss. One suggestion in the rules is to choose the most negative outcome. That makes sense. Another is to envision 2 negative things. Make one of them likely and ask the oracle which it is. And a third is to roll on the table. I will envision 2 negative things and roll. I think it's likely that the Varu have picked up their scent and will chase them. The other negative outcome is that thing that haunts the waters. Is it the Varu? I think that's likely, and on a roll of a 9, the oracle agrees and says yes. At the pool, a wind from the south gusted at them. Eilwen finished taking a long drink of the cold, crisp water, and had just refilled her water skin, when she heard the strange wolf-like howl from the road behind them, and an answering howl from the cliffs to their left above the waterfall. Goose flesh puckered on her arms, and she stood up, hand going to her sword hilt. She glanced at Seath, who also stood up, alert, water dripping from his own water skin. "Varu," he cursed. The howls drew nearer, but were still distant. Eilwen ran back to her pack, shouldered it, and then pulled out her bow and fitted an arrow. "Knights and blood, they have our scent," she cursed, looking around. Then she saw the sparkling falls. Running would likely be futile, as fighting might very well be if it was a large pack. Their best chance to avoid injury or death was to avoid discovery. "Everyone grab your things, into the water. We'll hide behind the fall. With any luck, that'll mask our scent and sight, and they'll pass by." As Aaron and Seath splashed into the chest-deep water, Eilwen reached into her pack and pulled out a few crumbs of dried meat. She jogged down the road a few paces and threw the flakes of jerky along the road, so that it would seem to the Varu that the small group of humans had moved in that direction. Then she raced back to the others, splashing into the water and reaching the veiled cover of the misty falls. just before the Varu came into view. Okay, this is Face Danger plus Shadow because of her deception. And I rolled a 6 on the action dice, plus 3 for her shadow is a 9, against a 5 and a 3 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. Momentum is now 8 out of 10. I think whatever has been haunting the river might make the Varus scared of the water. Is that true? I think that's likely. And on a roll of an 8, the oracle says yes. A small pack of 3 Varu picked their way around the lake, sniffing for the scent they had followed. Eilwen and the others huddled behind the bone-chilling water as it cascaded around them. Through the streams of water they saw the Varu approach the bank, sniff at the water that lapped and misted against the edge, and then back away, ears flattening, each of the wolfmen alternating between growls and whines of dismay. Then one of them sniffed the road, ears perking up, and gave a long, high-pitched howl. Curved blades raised to the sky. Another group of wolfmen joined them, and together the goodly-sized pack moved back onto the road and loped out of view to the south. Eilwen and her companions waited until the howls were distant things. "That was some quick thinking there, lass," Seath said. "Though I don't relish the fact that they're ahead of us on the road." "Agreed," Aaron said. "We should go cross-country, parallel to the road. Maybe over there?" He pointed to where the lake's outlet splashed and gurgled as the elevation angled downwards to the south. Trees lined the river on both sides and would hopefully mask them from the road. Eilwen studied it and gave a slow nod. "Good idea, brother. The fact that they seem afraid of the water might also be to our advantage." "Unless whatever monster haunts the water starts hunting us," Seath said with a scowl. "Remember what happened to old man Morris's wife?" Eilwen thought she saw a shadow pass upon the water. Or in the water? But maybe it was just a passing cloud above, or perhaps a fit of her imagination, though the sun's warmth did seem somewhat to wane. "Let's get to dry land," she said. "Gladly," Seath grumbled. They splashed to the shore, followed the perimeter of the lake, and then climbed down the boulders on the south side. The stiff, gusting wind did begin to dry the water that soaked their clothes, even as it caused Seath to break out in shivers. He complained incessantly of the cold. "I thought you were a trapper and hunter, used to the cold and the travails wrought by nature," Aaron said with a grin, looking at Eilwen. "I am, sometimes, but I like my hearth, and the warm sun on my back, too. Even more and more of late, it seems." "Besides, this isn't even cold," Eilwen said. "Come to the Veiled Mountains sometime. Then you'll know true cold." "No, thank you," Seath muttered. Eilwen and Aaron shared a small smile. Lowlanders. She and her brother had felt deeper cold than this most of their lives. This was warmer than most of the warmest summer days she had known in the Veiled Peaks. They pressed onward, paralleled the road, moving south, hoping the trees masked them. Okay, this is Undertake a Journey. I rolled a 5 on the action dice, plus 2 for the wits, is a 7 against a 4 and a 4 on the challenge dice for a strong hit and a positive match. Nice. Okay, progress is now 8 out of 10. We reach a milestone and take momentum. Momentum is now 9 out of 10. A positive match should be something interesting, a twist in the narrative or a new opportunity. I'll see if something comes to mind with the milestone. For that, I'll roll on the location and description oracle, And I rolled a 100. Wow. Anomaly. Okay. And 27. Blocked. I already just had the word blocked, so I will transpose those numbers from 27 to be a 72, and I get beautiful. I think I'll go with that. Anomaly/beautiful. That's just the milestone descriptor, but it certainly sounds like something interesting. Let me roll on action and theme oracles to get some more details about this anomaly. 72, find. 90, quest. Well, I think the beautiful anomaly, whatever that means, represents a milestone for a quest. I have an idea. Some hours later, lower still in elevation, the air warmer than before, with dry grasses whispering against their legs as they walked, they found another iron pillar on a low hill off to the west. It glowed a reddish golden hue in the light of the dying sun, and seemed a beacon of sorts. They all stopped and stared at it. Eilwen cocked her head. Something, an energy of some kind, seemed to thrum from it. And in Eilwen's mind she heard a piercing, pure note. Something like when her mother had sung a lullaby to her as a child. She stopped in her tracks, drawn towards the strange beauty of it. Her lips slightly parted. Scratch also cocked his head and seemed to listen with her, at least until a flutter of colorful wings distracted him, and he leaped after the butterfly into the sun-warmed grasses. "What is it?" Aaron said as he bumped into her. He and Seath both followed her gaze. "Can you not feel that? Hear that?" she asked Aaron, and pointed to the metallic plinth on the low hill. Can he? Let's ask the oracle. I think it is unlikely that he's going to feel or understand what she does, but I get a yes, but on a roll of a 7. So he does feel it, but thinks it is something else, I think. "What?" Aaron asked. "The wind?" She shook her head. "No, it's like music, a tune in my head, a warm song, pure melody. It reminds me of..." Her voice trailed off. "I just feel a little sleepy," Seath said, and masked a yawn with a fist. "And a bit relaxed, but maybe that's just the warm sun on my back." "Me too," Aaron nodded. "Could be a good place to make camp. Seems safe enough." "Do you think the Varu missed us, Seath?" Seath nodded. I do. I've not seen sign of their passage here in this vale. They must have gone back to their hunting grounds some other way, as we didn't meet them on the road, thank the stars." Eilwen shook her head and listened again, tilting her head slightly. "The sound you're hearing is still there?" "Yes," she murmured. "I hear music," Eilwen said. Curious, she moved toward the pillar. Aaron didn't try to dissuade her, but trudged up the hill alongside her with Seath. They arrived just as the last rays of the sun caressed their faces, and the angular runes on the iron pillar blazed in a burnished golden light. Then the sun disappeared behind the horizon, and twilight claimed the land. But strangely, the runes continued to bleed a beautiful golden light. It ran along the angular lines and lit the grasses beneath their feet in a small pool of honeyed light. "It's amazing," Seath said in wonder. "It feels better than the other iron archway by that underground lake," Aaron said to Eilwen. Eilwen nodded absently and tentatively reached out her hand and placed it on the pillar. The metal felt warm to the touch. There, on one of the faces of the pillar, she saw another triangular scade rune with its strange and impossible twisting lines etched into the iron plate. She traced it with her finger. It sounds like this light feels warm. The wind whispered to her. She closed her eyes and sought to follow it, to hear it deeper. Daughter. A voice rustled inside her, a mere susurration of sound lost amidst the sighing grasses. Daughter, it had said. Had it been only in her mind? Or was it merely the barest whisper on the wind, or only the wind? Whatever it was, that single word pierced her, and a gentle breeze caressed her face, blowing wisps of her hair. Mother? Eilwen whispered with a slight gasp, audible only to herself. Is that you? She had felt something. This place. She stopped, listened again, but heard nothing more. Only the sound of a breeze blowing across the tall grasses, rubbing them together in additional whispers of sound. But surely she had heard more than just a natural friction caused by wind upon grass blades. She felt that her mother had walked this road before, had touched this very pillar. But for what purpose? She thought of the iron pillar with the white dust in the box at its base. A dark, vile evil had been wrought there. Had her mother been behind that too? Though she was learning, she still knew so little. Who created these iron pillars in the first place? What purpose or purposes did they serve? With mother gone, who could teach her? She leaned her forehead against the warm metal and exhaled, closing her eyes. Are you all right? Aaron asked her. She nodded, her eyes still closed. Was just thinking about Mother. I think she may have come here and walked this road, touched this very pillar. How do you know? Aaron asked. A feeling. What do you think Mother was doing here? I have no idea, Eilwen said with a weary sigh. She shook her head and then sat and turned and leaned her back against the pillar, staring at the after embers of the sunset. There are so many secrets, she said. So many questions unanswered. Aaron looked at her for a moment and then looked away and busied himself with his pack and gear. For some reason, the ground and the wind felt warmer here, immediately around the pillar. Camping here might be a good idea after all, Seath said with a smile. It's warm. Eilwen nodded, her mind already far away. Yes, I think we should too. Moments later, they had out cloaks and blankets. She pulled her cloak around her as the wind picked up and the temperature dropped. The twilight soon turned to a darker night, but somehow the golden glow from the runes on the iron pillar remained, keeping the darkness at bay. Had this pillar retained the heat merely because it was in line with the afternoon sun? Or had this been her mother's doing? Or had it been her doing and the pillar was waiting for her? Nearby, Scratch nipped at Seath's jerky, which he'd snatch out of reach, laughing as he played with the little creature. Scratch hissed at him, and he tossed it with a laugh behind his shoulder, and the little wyvern cawed and hissed and half scampered, half dove after it, wrestling and crashing through the long grasses. What do you think about Mother? Eilwen asked her brother. She was Mother, loving at times, hard as unyielding stone at others. I think she loved you more, he said with a frown. For a moment, the peaceful, warm feeling gave way to a tense undercurrent that arced between them. Aaron, I never meant for... No, loved might not be the right word. Favored might be more accurate. She didn't know what to say. It's all right, Eilwen. I understand. You and Mother have this bond. You shared something with the crown, those discs, queens. Can't compete with that. But it's okay. She studied him as he picked up a stone and tossed it down the hill. His face looked sad and grim at the same time. It didn't sound okay. Thank you, she said to him. For what? He didn't look at her, just stared west, where the sun had descended, disappearing from view. For helping me, staying with me, not giving up on me. I made a vow to help you fulfill Mother's dying wish, he shrugged. And you're my sister, and my queen. His voice trailed off at the end into a near whisper. They descended into silence and ate a cold meal. After her experience in the Greenheart, and what she had discovered there, she had told Aaron about the iron pillar with the bone-white dust, the runes, the darkness. She told of the iron discs, that Mother may have been involved in dark deeds. Aaron had grimaced, but had brushed it aside. He had been skeptical that Mother had been involved in something nefarious. Perhaps he was right to be. She hoped so. There were just too many secrets. Or perhaps he just didn't want to believe their Mother capable of malfeasance. Mother never did say much about her life before she met Cadfael, Eilwen's father. And even after she met Father, even Cadfael, it seemed, had never really known who Arwood really was. That she was involved with runes of power, that she was a queen in line for a crumbling throne, that she was royalty and held a shorn crown in her possession. Too many secrets, too many unanswered questions. Mother had died too soon. But Mother had been here. She had touched this very pillar. Of that, Eilwen felt certain. Could she find out more about her mother, and what she might have been doing here by interacting with the pillar somehow? It had a Scade rune too. There was only one way to know for certain. Thank you for joining us, and I sincerely hope you enjoyed what you experienced. If you would like to support Roll, Ponder, and Play, you can do so in a number of ways. You can give the show a positive review on your podcatcher of choice. You can share the show with your friends and family and on your socials. Nothing beats word of mouth as a way to bring in new listeners. You can join my Patreon at patreon.com/rollponderandplay. There you can find show notes and transcripts, as well as other projects I'm involved in. And paid subscribers get access to subscriber-only episodes, shows, and other content. Finally, you can simply reach out to me and say hello. Comments from you are what inspire me to keep doing this, and I'd sincerely love to hear what you think of the show. To do so, you can find me on my Patreon, or on Discord at rollponderandplay, or by email at rollponderandplay@gmail.com. Until we meet again on Roll, Ponder, and Play, may your own dice rolls ever bring you success.